It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
What a day. My God. So I had to go to the Babylon Bee.
Okay, yeah.
Sergeant at Arms gently escorts liberal to the cry room.
Wouldn't that have been funny for Trump to say, take him to the cry room? It's
Oh, my.
That would have been funny. Oh, my gosh. It's okay. Al Green thinking he's the hero. How do you misread something on that level? Because you're bat soup radical. That's the only answer.
You know that what came out of yesterday, and I'll repeat what I said at the beginning of the show. My second, my third thought, and it was really when I was driving in, I was like, I've never seen such stupid people.
Right. Yeah.
And then I realized, no, they're not stupid. They're radical.
Right.
And they can't change their positions because it's what they truly believe.
Right.
They believe in the racism of identity politics, of judging people by the group that they're in, not as individuals, and they believe wholeheartedly in the hatred of women.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they believe. There's no other way you can look at it. I don't believe, you have a certain level of intelligence and potential critical thinking skills if you can become a congressperson. You've got to maneuver through the maze of politics to get to that point of fundraising, of campaigning, and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then if they're not stupid, what are they?
They're radical.
They're radical.
Because it's that radical mind that drives you in that direction where you can't read the room, where you don't care what the room read is, where you don't care about anything else.
By the way, I can hear our listeners saying to me, Gary, no, they can be that stupid.
Well, stupid. We put stupid under the umbrella of radicalism.
Well, yeah.
It's not just that they're stupid.
Right. But
it's the radicalism that drives them to do stupid things.
Well, you have to ask the question: how intelligent is somebody if they believe that a man can be a biological woman because the man says so, when it defies all science completely?
Right.
It's not that some people don't think that, but thinking that is not being that.
I also would have loved for the president to say, and by the way, give us your Party of Science card, hand it over, because you can no longer carry that card.
Well, it's a great speech. We'll have the audio cut of the day coming up, because I think the one that and I heard you playing it. We played it already, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't want to give it away. But I heard you playing it. But that one does contain the substance and the comedy. It encapsulates everything that made this the best speech that Trump ever gave.
Yeah,
by far.
Yeah,
and it shows people that have said that Trump is arrogant and a narcissist and will never learn anything. They don't know him and haven't watched him over the last 8-9 years, because he's learned a lot. And not only has he learned a lot, but he's put it into practice.
Right.
And so we'll get to that audio cut coming up here following the bottom of the hour. You won't want to miss it because it is great. And, okay, other headlines. You ready?
Okay.
Trump-Canadian tariffs expected to have devastating impact on the curling broom industry.
That's funny. I love it.
Oh, my gosh. And what was it? Oh, what was the one that I saw from, hang on here. Oh, golly. A couple of them here. Molly Hemingway.
Oh,
Note from a friend who watched the speech tonight from Molly Hemingway. I figured the Democratic Party hated black children with brain cancer, but it's nice to have the confirmation.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah. To be clear, that wasn't written for the Babylon Bee.
No.
But it's
no.
a great, it's a great observation.
And then from Michael Reagan.
Yeah.
FYI to the Democrat response to Trump's fabulous, uplifting speech tonight. He hasn't always been a Trump fan. Michael Reagan hasn't always been a Trump fan. But FYI, from what I remember, FYI to the Democrat response to Trump's fabulous, uplifting speech tonight, Trump would not have lost the Cold War. You must remember the Democrats didn't like the tear down this wall speech. They also didn't like my father calling the Soviet Union the evil empire. And they were mad when he walked away in Iceland. The Democrats are the party of whiners and losers. Reagan and Trump proved to be winners, while the Democrats are the losers. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember. Maybe some of you are too. Democrats were questioning the sanity of Ronald Reagan when he said, Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Yeah.
They thought it was going to lead to World War III.
Right. No, they were
seriously
on the path of this guy has lost his mind.
Yep. And if you don't live in the bubble of today, you remember that very, very well. The other thing is the stock futures up?
Yeah, watching those overnight. Let's see here. Where are we? Oh, hold on a second. Just lost it. I went to another page. Bring it up here. Up 297. It's bounced somewhere in the up 300 range on the Dow. The NASDAQ futures up over 200 right now. And a lot of that is attributed to what Commerce Secretary Lutnick said.
And here's what he said concerning tariffs yesterday on Fox Business.
He's going to come out today angry that Americans are still being killed. Now, both the Mexicans and the Canadians were on the phone with me all day today trying to show that they'll do better. And the president's listening because he's very, very fair and very reasonable. So I think he's going to work something out with them. It's not going to be a pause, none of that pause stuff. But I think he's going to figure out, you do more, and I'll meet you in the middle some way. And we're going to probably be announcing that tomorrow. So somewhere in the middle will likely be the outcome. The president moving with the Canadians and Mexicans, but not all the way.
I don't know what that means, but...
But I don't know what middle means yet,
right.
So
but,
I don't know where that is.
But it's what he's saying is they're going to compromise, we're going to compromise, which is, I talked to somebody yesterday. You saw that thing of what the Canadian tariffs are on American products, and it's not true. And I had a buddy of mine who asked it, and I said, well, what you have to understand is, and we had this discussion last night, and a guy got very angry with me, which I'm like, why? We're just reporting. What the truth is,
right.
That Trump being furious at Canada makes no sense because he alone negotiated all the trade deals that we have right now with Canada. There's only one, USMCA. Trump approved it.
Yeah.
Before it ever went to Congress, Trump had to approve it. If there's any unfair trade with Canada, Trump approved it in his first term with USMCA.
Right.
And so we had said, I think that, again, and for some reason, the administration, they go through cycles. And I said it yesterday about Navarro. Never liked Navarro, didn't like him in the first term. Some people got upset when I called him an idiot. But he is. He believes he can control an economy. Right. He does. And anybody who is that arrogant and that, to me, narcissist, that believes that they can control an economy like the United States and they can manipulate it to success, I believe is an idiot. You can disagree with me, and that's fine, but they can't. And so I just think that Trump has always been back and forth on tariffs. He was in his first term. That's why when, Navarro was part of the first administration, they brought in
Kudlow,
Larry Kudlow and Steve Moore were saying, no, we don't want tariffs. And he ended up not doing the tariffs. And he ended up really USMCA almost a mirror of what NAFTA was. There wasn't much change. People don't realize that. We do, because we read the majority of it. We know it was in it. Nothing much really changed in it. They updated it for, technology and things like that, but it was basically the same. And so I believe, and I think you and I are in agreement on this, I believe yesterday, the second day in a row when the stock market, when it was over 1,300 points in 2 days, they just went, oh, boy. And then, especially with the Atlanta Fed numbers coming out, that the first quarter could be minus 2.8% economic growth.
Right.
But they just said, somebody's saying this isn't the time, we need to work out something.
Well,
because what he said yesterday, this isn't going to be a pause. We're going to have a deal done.
Yeah.
Well, so what you're saying is you do not want to use tariffs in order to run, to collect taxes anymore. That seems to be off the table.
And again, if this is about negotiation, then get the deal done and get it behind you.
Yeah. You don't need this right now. You need to work on everything that is pro-economic growth. That's what you need right now.
Right.
And, the reciprocal tariffs against China, you probably can live with. And the reciprocal things are different than already having a free trade deal with two countries and saying, I don't like this free trade deal that I negotiated.
Right.
That it's a horrible deal when it was the greatest deal of all time just a few years ago.
There's a lot to accomplish when it comes to China.
Yeah, and China's not a part of that deal.
Right. And so when it comes to our trade partners, with North America, with Mexico and Canada, you did a deal, and if you're not happy with the deal, that's another thing. Be forward about it. Look, we did USMCA. We didn't do enough.
Yeah.
It's not working like I wanted it to work, so we're going to have to go further. Be clear what you're trying to get.
But if it all ends today, because when he said tomorrow, he said it yesterday.
Yeah, he said
if it all ends today and it's not a pause and we're not going to talk about it anymore and it's done and it's over, well, then we move on.
And I think that if there's, because he got strong support on tariffs during the campaign. A lot of his base, they were, oh, yeah, tariffs. But the actual economic impact of it, you want it, if it's all about negotiation, you want it behind you as soon as possible.
Right, but the polls over the last month, they want tariffs on China, but not Canada and Mexico.
I know. It changed during the campaign.
Yeah.
You're
right. You're right. No, you're right on that.
And so this is the reality. So you want that behind you so you can start looking forward to the midterm. You're going to have to seal that up. You got to keep the midterm. The GOP has to remain in control of the House and Senate for you. Otherwise, you're lame duck for 2 years.
Yeah. And he was having a hard time selling the Canada thing, too.
Yeah.
Because when it's out there that,
well,
we have a trade surplus with Canada.
Right.
So what's the problem? We have a trade surplus. Well, not if you include oil.
Right.
Yeah, but you want the oil at cheaper prices from Canada.
Right.
You demanded last week that TC Energy come down. Oh.
What?
Wait a minute.
What?
You and I absolutely against Trump promoting that Canada become the 51st state.
Yeah.
And we've said, stop it. It's ridiculous. Nobody wants Canada because we don't want 2 Democrat senators and a whole bunch more of Democrat congresspeople, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got to find the guy. I got to find it here. Oh, my gosh. I just realized it now. Here it is. You ready? This is the group that is coming down to the United States. Here, hang on here. I'm not ready yet. Coming down to the United States from Alberta. Alberta lawyer Jeffrey Rath says a delegation is planning to travel to D.C. to pitch President Trump on Alberta statehood. Eric and I are all for this.
I'm in.
We're all for this. Here we go. All right.
All right, here we
On
go.
Alberta statehood.
Well, there's a group of Albertans that are working together right now to put together a delegation to go to Washington to talk to the Trump administration about Alberta petitioning for U.S. statehood. It's quite evident that we're being governed by idiots in Ottawa who don't understand that we can't afford a trade war with our largest trading partner. And rather than simply apologizing to President Trump for not meeting our NATO commitments and not adequately securing our border, apparently the Trudeau government has decided to declare a trade war and run up trillions of dollars in costs like they did during COVID on a made-up emergency. So there's a number of us in Alberta that have had enough and want to go speak with the Trump administration about the benefits of Alberta joining the United States.
I vote yes.
Same with me. We vote yes.
Okay,
We vote yes. It's a yes
all right,
for Alberta.
It's a yes.
Yes.
They're in. I mean, I'm not sure we are the only two votes, but we're the only ones that matter. I love it. He covered a lot of ground, by the way, in just a short clip that we played. I love it.
I
Yeah.
almost forgot about that.
Yeah,
I saw it yesterday.
No, that's great.
And saved it and went, oh, wait a minute. Hold it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, we'd love to have you.
Now, we don't know what happens to the Edmonton Elks or the Calgary Stampeders of the Canadian Football League. Do they become part of the NFL?
Jerry Jones would have to decide that, I guess.
Like, nobody's viewing that as a
Right, as the
as a deciding
the big
factor
decider.
in
Yeah.
stopping this from happening.
right.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
A fast-moving system of active weather this week is bringing its share of notable conditions. USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey.
We are seeing blizzard conditions unfolding early this week across western and central Nebraska, extending to parts of neighboring states. And that swath of snow will eventually cross the upper Midwest and reach the upper Great Lakes region in the vicinity of Lake Superior.
With 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and wind-driven snow forecasted, causing difficult travel conditions and challenges for livestock producers in lambing and calving season.
As we move to the south, the big story there will be both wind and severe weather.
With blowing dust in the southern plains, resulting in low visibility and stress on winter wheat.
We're expecting a fairly significant severe weather outbreak between now and late Wednesday as that frontal boundary sweeps from the southeastern plains to the southern Atlantic coast.
As potential tornadic activity is forecasted. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Crony, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. And, well, I hope where this goes. I mean, after Lutnick said there may be a deal done today, and a compromise deal where both sides give. You know, you and I talked about that. They did that after the markets closed, and I believe that it came down. We can't have another day like we had. We can't have 2 days in a row where the stock market drops, 1,300. I did hear the day before where they said, well, we don't care about Wall Street. We care about Main Street. No, Trump has always cared about where the stock market is. If you followed his career, he always has and looks at that and understands that.
Because you're affecting people's retirement.
Right.
And
right.
401k, and that's where it crosses over to Main Street.
Well, I like the messaging over the last 24 hours, 36 hours, because he said, no, well, we want to get to the point of hitting because they've really been focusing on the reciprocal tariffs now.
Yeah,
I think they realize that's the way to go.
Right.
You talk about that because that's where you go and say to Europe, look, we all benefit from free trade because Trump said, I want to get rid of the reciprocal tariffs and have free trade. I'm like, that's what I want to hear.
Right, exactly.
And he said that. And with Europe, you can make that case. And then that's where you have the trade group of Canada, United States, Mexico, South America, as he talked about, Europe and Asia against China.
Exactly.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, so we saw late yesterday afternoon when Lutnick was out there, the Commerce Secretary, and saying, we're going to have a deal, and the president is very, very fair, and it's going to be a compromise on both sides with Mexico and Canada, whatever. I mean, when he was talking, I'm going, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Everything remains the same. When it comes to the actual trade portion of it, but you do whatever. We're going to beef up for fentanyl, whatever, and then you move on. And I noticed that they're focusing on the April 1st reciprocal tariffs. If you're going to do it, that's what you focus on, because there is a great opportunity with Europe.
Yeah,
because
right.
You and I remember the Colombia Free Trade Agreement?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Colombia did not like, they wanted out of the trade agreement that they had with the United States.
Right.
And this goes back, 15 years?
Yeah.
15 years ago was that
Right.
Colombia Free Trade Agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Colombia said, we want to break this because the protectionism was for Colombia. The United States created a trade agreement with Colombia where they said, we'll protect your businesses from United States products.
Right.
So you, because of the drug trade, have a chance to produce your own industries. Well, the opposite happened.
Yeah.
They couldn't produce anything. They
Right.
had, because you had the monopoly. You own the market. There wasn't the competition. It didn't work. It had the reverse effect that everybody thought it was going to have.
Right.
And then the Democrats and the Obama administration was against changing it.
It was going to benefit unions.
Yeah,
remember?
because it was going to benefit unions here, but they were against it because American products would be sold there because they could not, because they wanted a new free trade agreement. Because the Obama administration could not be for a free trade agreement that actually benefited the unions in the United States because it was called a free trade agreement.
Right.
And we went, but the tariffs are on American products going in there, and the thought process was, which kept American products from going in there.
Right.
And Colombia didn't want it anymore because they couldn't get anything of quality. And they said the only way that our industry can compete, or the only reason we can get quality products, is if United States products come in here and our companies have to compete and put out a quality product. And the Obama administration was against it because it was called a free trade agreement.
Right.
And the unions were against it because it was called a free trade agreement, even though it was going to benefit the unions in the United States. That's how insane it was at that point. And so, but overall, when you look at it, when Trump came out the other day, I said, something's going on. He goes, we need to focus in on South America. We need to focus in on, our hemisphere over here. And I'm like, well, that's a good thing because you want to build trade coalitions.
Yeah.
You do want that. And it's also an opportunity to look at Europe and tell them, look, get rid of your tariffs. It's hurting you. It's hurting your economy. And those economies aren't the best economies, especially with all the climate change crap and high energy prices and all that. And if you have free trade agreements with everybody and break down the barriers, that's where you get, and Trump said it the other day, I don't want the reciprocal tariffs to last. I want them to lead to free trade. I'm like, okay, that's the kind of talk that I want to hear and most conservative capitalists want to hear.
Right.
But you have an opportunity to open up Europe, and if they don't, fine. You bring other countries in. India. You work with India, you work with Asia, you work with the people that wish to do it, and you isolate China. You isolate the country that you're really, really worried about. And I think Trump understands that based on the fact that he's trying to do the, triangulation, whatever you call it, and have Russia move Russia closer to the United States, not for the United States to become fascist or communist or whatever, or to become Putin's servant, like he is Elon's, right?
Yeah, right.
I love that. We had by the way, I got a couple of emails in that. You guys were funny talking about how, yes, Trump always wishes to be subservient to somebody else. You
Right.
know? Of
Yeah.
course, we were
Yeah.
kidding. It's like that's ridiculous about how he's Putin's puppet. Trump doesn't want to be a puppet of anybody. So that's the most ridiculous thing if you look at his personality and what he's president of the United States. You think, with
one
everything
day,
he's
one
done,
day he's a dictator. The next day he's subservient.
yeah, exactly. But how he wishes to move Russia away from China and trying to figure out how to do that. And that's a tough thing you may not succeed at that.
Right.
But it's not a bad goal to consider.
Right.
Based on whatever you have. But you can do that. It would be great. And so if they ended today, it'd be wonderful. Move on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody claim victory. Both sides can claim victory. Unbelievable, great victory. The best deals ever. I don't care. Just get it done. Move on.
Yeah, and if you can get to the point of eventually doing away with reciprocal tariffs because the other side, those trade partners are ending their tariffs.
Yeah, he said that the other day.
Yeah,
He said that.
if you
My
get
goal
to
is
that
right.
point, that would be huge.
Well, that's our kind. That is the economics that works.
Right. Right.
And so we would be fine and dandy, completely fine and dandy with it. Did you see Doug Ford in Ontario? We're going to cut off all electricity that we're sending to the United States.
Right.
I'm like, okay, this is getting interesting.
Yeah.
And then everybody be friends again, and the snowbirds can come back to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see what DeSantis said?
Mm.
Well, we do enjoy the Canadian tourists coming down here because they get to see what a Stanley Cup winning hockey team is.
Oh,
It's like, oh, my
oh,
God.
that hurts a little bit.
But then you move on. But I think the three things were the 2 days of the stock market, and I do think the Atlanta Fed predicting, negative 2.8% growth.
Because the negative 1.5 was one thing, but then when it dropped on Monday morning to negative 2.8, it's like, okay, even if you don't buy into their methodology on this whole thing and you understand how rapidly it can change as the data comes in, and it does, if you believe that for a moment, you don't want to risk it. That if you believe Q1 is going to be negative 2.8, you do not want to risk that.
Right.
Along with, the stock market and everybody's 401k hurting and everything else. Don't have that on your plate.
Yeah,
That's self-inflicted.
Yeah, it's not needed to be on the plate when you haven't got to the pro-growth stuff yet.
Right.
Have everything pro-growth.
Right.
And worry about the other stuff later.
Right.
But here we go. This to me, this was a highlight because this was the best of Trump yesterday, both making a point, a serious point, to everybody in America going, whoa, and at the same time, just a great sense of humor. I mean, this was the best speech he's ever given.
Yeah.
But here it is. All right.
Just listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified. $22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender. This is real. $32 million for a left-wing propaganda operation in Moldova. $10 million for male circumcision in Mozambique. $20 million for the Arab Sesame Street in the Middle East. It's a program, $20 million for a program. $1.9 billion to recently created Decarbonization of Homes Committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her? A $3.5 million consulting contract for lavish fish monitoring. $1.5 million for voter confidence in Liberia. $14 million for social cohesion in Mali. $59 million for illegal alien hotel rooms in New York City. He's a real estate developer. He's done very well. $250,000 to increase vegan local climate action innovation in Zambia. $42 million for social and behavior change in Uganda. $14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well with learning. You know what we're doing. We should use it ourselves. And $101 million for DEI contracts at the Department of Education. The most ever paid, nothing even like it. Under the Trump administration, all of these scams, and they're far worse, but I didn't think it was appropriate to talk about.
So there you go.
Yeah. Entertaining, informative.
Yeah.
And also informative in a way that everybody looks at and says, wait a minute, what? Is that actually true?
Yeah.
A lot of what he was doing was really bringing things up that will be in the cycle today of going viral. People that didn't watch will be looking at it going, wait a minute, I saw this clip on social media. Is that true? And when you look it up, it's like, oh my gosh, it's true. And the Democrats acting like radicals. That's what you see here. There's the difference. There's the contrast. And it started day one, Inauguration Day, with his speech. While Biden and Kamala were sitting over to the side, here's everything they broke, and here's what we're going to do. We promised to do this, and we're going to do it.
You and I said this. I don't care about decorum anymore. I care about getting the job done. Yeah. I care about doing the right thing, promoting freedom, promoting liberty, promoting free markets, promoting capitalism, promoting what will give the people of the United States the most opportunity to succeed and acquire wealth in a free society where individual rights are protected. Right. That's what I care about. And I don't care whether the left thinks, well, it was quite partisan. It sounded like a campaign speech. I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care. On the issues, was he on point? The answer is yes.
I care that the issues are, we call it 80-20. Some are 70-30. Some may be 60-40. But it's the fact you're picking all the issues that the American public believes in, and you're promoting them, and the other side says we don't believe in them. Well, that's what I want. I want a government. I don't care whether they're called Republican. I don't care what they're called. I care where they stand on the issues, and I want that party to succeed and to keep promoting what they're promoting and showing America that the other side doesn't want what they want.
Right.
And that's what happened.
Yep.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. And finally, this is a short. This is our short favorite audio cut of the day from last night.
All right.
Okay. All right, here we go.
The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
And what I like there is he just didn't say the Democrats. He said the media.
Yeah.
Which was true. Because remember, what we need is comprehensive. If I never hear that again, I'll be the happiest person.
Right. I love it.
We need comprehensive immigration reform. See, the reason the border is the way it is because we don't have comprehensive immigration reform. Comprehensive immigration reform. Comprehensive immigration reform.
Well, it's the framework for comprehensive. But this is
the framework for comprehensive.
We believe we're getting close to the framework for comprehensive immigration reform.
We have the skeleton of the framework of the.
Yes, we're having discussions about setting up a meeting for the framework. Nope. You just need the right president. Yeah, it was a great line.
To enforce the law.
Exactly.
That currently exists.
We have the laws already.
They lied to you.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.